This is McCook's Mr. Billson. Honored to have you here. Looking at post hole diggers. God knows I've put in more than my share of posts in my 43 years of working part-time for ranches. I've set a lot of posts, without question. Floods will wash out your fence lines, or the bulls will get to fighting and tear up a fence. You bet. And that means somebody's got to fix it. And thank God for that, because that's what I did with some of my jobs out there. Now this old thing is pretty simple. And when you're putting it down, you open it up, and then you close it as you're pulling the dirt back out of the hole. Pretty simple. However, I've heard of people getting their toes cut off with these things if they ain't real careful of what they're doing. With that in mind, anything though can get you hurt. And this could. But one of the more unusual stories I got is from this kind of critter. You see, the old wooden post, you dig a post hole to get that post in there and pack the dirt around it. But a steel post, that's a different critter. You pound it into the ground. I said you pound it into the ground. And one of the old ways to do it is one of these critters. Big old heavy thing. It's about 30 pounds. And what you do is you hold the steel post and get it in there, and then you slam this thing down on it. Pounding and pounding to drive that post in there. Post after post. Well, I had a friend down there just on the other side into Kansas, old Dave, and he was hurrying trying to get his wheat field fenced so he could run the cattle out in there for the winter. He was trying to hurry, and as he was holding the post and trying to get that in there so he could slam it down, it slipped, and his thumb was in between that steel post and this, and it cut off his thumb. It cut his thumb off. You better believe that was a terrible mess to try to figure out, not counting all the blood. Not counting all the blood. And so they rushed him to the hospital, put it on ice, and got him to the hospital there at McCook. A couple hours of surgery, and they saved his thumb and got it sewed back on. But he was all bandaged up, so he couldn't do much. Couldn't do much. That fence still needed to be put in. And so he went back out, and his wife went with him this time. And he did it again. He was up there trying to pound those posts in. And he was doing more of the pounding with this hand, free of the thumb, because it was all bandaged up. And as he was holding the post with the other hand, his pipe slipped again, and he cut off the other thumb. So within just a few days, he'd cut both of his thumbs off. Now, what are the odds? At the same time, when you get in a hurry and you're in trouble, rather than to ask neighbors or friends to help, doing it yourself may cost you more than you can possibly imagine. And so they had to rush him to the hospital and get this thumb sewed on. What are the odds? And so he was all bandaged up. And I said, "What lesson did you learn?" And he said, "Yeah, I should have asked for help, without question." But he said, "I also learned another thing." He said, "I learned that my wife, that I married the right woman." And I said, "Why would that be?" And he said, "Well, with your both hands all bandaged up," he said, "after you go to the bathroom, there's no way to clean yourself when both hands are all bandaged up." And he said, "You learn real quick that wife is really a true wife when she helps clean you when you need to be cleaned." But that's one of the critters and one of the stories from Southwest Nebraska.